Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy. Where is it?
So today we'll be in a place that has 6 different flags flown over it.
Deliberately? Are they the same flag?
That seems redundant, and no.
You would think 6 flags would be.
This place has its own power grid.
Texas.
Yeah.
You used my own hint because I had told you that hint of they can run by themselves.
Well, my other hints were their state vegetable is the sweet onion. And then my last one was, I feel like we've picked on this place quite a bit, and your husband is from there.
Because everything's bigger in Texas, including the crime.
Also, the 6 flags are Spain, France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the United States, and the Confederate States of America.
All right. Did you know it used to be its own country?
Sure did. I remembered that from your last Texas case, which is why I didn't make it mine.
Yeah, but you didn't remember I told you it could stand alone on its electricity production.
Sure didn't. Our win is 2004.
Fairly recent.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you this now. There's a lot of people.
I don't know. I don't have that pen near me at all this time.
So you don't need a pen. The family I'm going to tell you about, I tried to get the chunky bits out of this. Otherwise, it was going to end up being a 2-parter. I'm going to just tell you where their placements are when I mention the brothers, because there's a total of 6 boys, but they're not our main characters here. One of the brothers is, but the rest of them, we'll discuss them as they go, and I'll just tell you their name and which brother they are. So if it's brother number 4, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to discuss the Thomas family. The case is actually going to be on is Andre Lee Thomas. But before Andre was even born, his family was dysfunctional, to put it mildly.
He's the oldest?
No. Andre's grandparents bonded in their youth over substance abuse, violence, and mental illness.
Always a healthy way to start a relationship.
Very. His grandmother stated she could see and speak to God among many of the voices she heard.
All right.
About 10 years before his birth, Andre's uncle was murdered by his grandmother's husband. So I figure it must have been a new husband.
So his stepdad?
I guess.
Hmm.
And then...
Do I need to remember that?
No, I'm just telling you the nonsense of this family.
The bad family?
Yeah. The entire family seemed to be plagued with mental illness, substance abuse, and or violence.
Well, we know where it started.
Yeah. And Andre was born into this madness on March 17th, 1983. He was born in Oklahoma to Rochelle and Danny Thomas. Andre was the 5th out of 6 boys. The first 5 boys were all roughly 12 to 18 months apart until the youngest son was born, and he's 13 years younger than his next closest brother. So to put that in perspective, the dynamics were a newborn, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old. And the newborn is the only one with a different father.
All right.
So the brothers, we've got the oldest is Eric, then we got Danny, Brian, James. Andres are the fellow we're talking about. And the newborn is unnamed because he was squirted out a decade later and doesn't really play a factor into this case.
Do I need to know any of this?
Just know that he's got lots of brothers. Because he's going to bounce around and live with different brothers at different points. And I'll just tell you who's who. I think I did a pretty good job of clarifying it. I ran it past my children. They said it made sense. So when Andre was 2 or 3, this rambunctious family moved to Sherman, Texas. His dad seemed to go MIA when Andre was around 4, which left his mother, who was going through her own issues, trying to raise all these little young men all alone. She'd been sexually abused during her life, so I didn't find it surprising to learn that she was suffering with depression, and she was also an alcoholic. And seeing as how her parents seemed to have mental illness, there were reports that she struggled herself with mental illness, frequently stating she heard voices coming from the divine.
Okay.
Andre's father would eventually move down the street to the local trailer park, and he would make the occasional appearance for his boys. But in no way did he do any of the heavy lifting of parenting his kids.
I was going to say, how heavy are they?
Pretty heavy. As a young child, Andre and his brothers were deprived of the basic necessities in life. Their home was never filled with love. The children rarely saw their mother. With her husband in and out of the picture, if she came home, she usually had a different feller with her. Their home often had no electricity, no heat, and no running water. Andre grew up with his mother saying she saw visions of God and could hear voices. And despite constant disadvantages, Andre was thriving as a little guy. He would attend church every Sunday, and he also attended Sunday school. He was a smart little feller, and he was very respectful. In school, he was naturally intelligent. He was offered placement in the gifted and talented program in school. Like, he was a smart little guy.
So he was Matilda.
Yeah. Then things with Andre began to change when he was around 10. He thought he was Raiden from the video game Mortal Kombat. He wasn't playing pretend. He truly believed he was Raiden.
Right.
And then from age 10 to 12, he would tell some of his classmates he could hear angels and demons arguing in his head. And sometimes he needed the voices to stop. And that's when Andre learned, with the help of his big brothers, that he could drink alcohol and smoke some weed, and that would quiet those voices. By 12, Andre ended up being placed on probation. And around this time, Andre found himself a little love.
At 12?
At 12.
Right.
Because that's what every voice-hearing, alcoholic, drinking, pot-smoking, hormonal, prepubescent 12-year-old boy needs, is a girlfriend.
I don't know whether to be impressed or not, though.
I cringe.
It's only because you're children.
It is. Especially when I get to this next little bit. Well, this part too, but by 13, Andre sliced his wrists on 2 separate occasions and failed suicide attempts. Now we're going to put a pin in Andre and talk about his little love. Her name is Laura Christine Boren. She's 8 months younger than Andre. She was born November 7th, 1983. And the expression opposites attract come to mind with these 2 children because Laura was a good girl who was kind-hearted and always willing to help somebody out. And she came from a close-knit, very loving family. Mm-hmm. To keep this timeline going, it's 1996. Laura and Andre have met. They see their hearts, stars, and roses.
Clovers and blue moons, pots of gold and rainbows, and me red balloons.
All right. So Cupid for sure shot his arrow at these now 13-year-olds, and the young couple did not care about the racial hatred that their relationship attracted. They were going to date, and no one was going to stop them.
Well, they're 12. I feel like everyone can stop them because they can't drive.
Well, they began having sex almost immediately, which did make me cringe because...
You got a few children in that bracket.
Yeah. By 15, Andre was placed in juvenile detention for stealing a car. While in juvenile detention, he was placed on suicide watch and began receiving mental health services. But after being released from his timeout, his mental health services stopped. And from what I could find, it looked like Laura was in 11th grade and Andre's legal issues, drug issues, and just in general skipping school kind of set him behind. Mm. And at 15, he dropped out of 9th grade. You figure your average 15-year-old is in 10th because he was about to turn 16.
Yeah, so he at some point failed.
Yeah, or at least was just, he was behind. And Andre hit the pavement and got to work. Andre's work history began with him working at Popeyes with one of his brothers. He only worked there for a few months before he got fired for abusing codeine with one of the managers.
Where's he getting it from?
I'm assuming the manager. Around 16, he started washing dishes at Red Lobster and stuck it out there for about a year because the young couple were expecting their first child together. She was 15, he was 16.
All right.
Andre got bored washing them dishes, so he quit Red Lobster and started working at the Lone Star food store. He only lasted there for about 6 months before being fired for coming to work drunk. During this time, Laura gave birth to their son, Andre Lee Jr., on August 31st, 1999.
He sure did step on that fast forward button of life.
He sure did. Andre then bounced around, finger-fucking the fast food at several other fast food places.
That was the best way you could find to describe that one?
Yes. Because let's face it, if you've got a teenage boy who's abusing drugs and alcohol making your fast food, I bet you he didn't wash his hands.
Disgusting.
Next time you eat fast food and have a bout of diarrhea, question who touched it.
Fortunately, I don't eat fast food.
Well, good for you. Meanwhile, his girlfriend Laura, she was still in school, taking care of their infant and working at Chick-fil-A. The happy couple lived with Laura's parents for a bit. Then on Andre's 18th birthday, he married Laura, who was 17. So now they're 17 and 18, married with a little boy. The little family briefly moved in with Andre's mother, and when I say they briefly lived there, I mean after 2 weeks, they were kicked out. His mom told him they had to go, and that tore the newlywed couple apart. Andre moved in with his oldest brother, Eric, and then Laura and Andre Jr. moved in with a friend before eventually she moved back in with her parents. Being young married parents who were not able to live together, the couple's relationship was extremely strained, and after 4 months into their nuptials, the no longer happy couple separated in July. One day while Laura was at work, she met a new fella named Bryant Hughes, but Bryant was married and living with his wife and their 2 children.
He sounds like a winner for sure.
But she also wanted to give her marriage her 100% effort for the sake of her little family. So in January, the married couple tried to reconcile. The reconciliation only lasted about a month because Andre ended up going to jail in February of 2002 for 4 months. He was sent to jail for beating up some guy that he thought slept with his wife while they were separated.
Did he?
I don't know. He was charged with assault of bodily injury and evading arrest with a motor vehicle. And during his incarceration, Andre believed that Laura also cheated on him with his brother James, James's brother number 4, and also cheated on him with his cousin Floyd. Laura, she sobbed and denied cheating on Andre, but there was nothing she could say or do. Andre was convinced she was a cheater. He told anyone and everyone Laura had ripped his heart out. After these accusations were made, their marriage was officially over. Along with that ending, Andre's sanity seemed to snap. He began experiencing more intense delusions and suicidal thoughts. He became obsessive over the apocalyptic concepts in the Book of Revelations. He no longer could keep a job. His life was unraveling. And remember I told you his family wasn't wrapped too tight? Well, Andre's brother Brian, brother number 3, they got into a fight over some boxers, and now I'm not sure if they're boxers like professional punch-in-your-face boxers.
Or their undies.
For me,
I think it's probably the underwear, and he's just like, you wore these, they're stretched out.
well, for me, in my brain, they were fighting over their panties, so...
I feel like, yeah,
that's
going to be how it goes down. Of like, I have 1 pair left.
Anyway, so the argument escalated very quickly, and apparently Brian...
Or it's like that Friends episode when Joey's wearing Chandler's
all of Chandler's clothes.
Yeah, of like a level of, you're wearing my underwear. Those are my boxers. And he's like, no, they're not. It's almost like they make more than one of these. Like, those are mine. There's a stain right there.
So apparently Brian, brother number 3, charged at Andre while they were fighting.
He wanted those undies back.
And Andre stabbed his brother 3 or 4 times. The brother does survive.
Maybe he had gold stitching.
Andre would go to jail for about 6 months before the assault charges were dropped against him, since it was proven self-defense. And even though our main focus is Andre and how he was quickly mentally unraveling, I read a report that the got stabbed brother number 3, Brian, he was hauled off to the psychiatric hospital for treatment.
The one who got stabbed?
Yeah.
I'd been like, not the crazy one.
Well, he's charged at Andre, so...
Who started the undie argument, though?
I don't know. I guess Brian, because he's the one that got hauled off.
Maybe he thought his name was Haynes, and those had his name all over them.
Or maybe they were the Joe boxers.
Was his name Joe?
His name's Brian. Maybe he took Joe's
boxers.
I
mean, you just took my own joke.
Anyway, with his brother away, Andre was left on his own. He was struggling to hold down a job, meaning lack of cash flow. No cash means you can't pay the bills. Now the utilities are cut off. Laura, realizing Andre is really struggling to support himself financially and mentally, began limiting how much time Andre was able to spend with their little boy. Laura would allow Andre to come over to her place to see their son. She would leave the room so the father and son could have some quality bonding time. However, Laura was scared of Andre. Most of the time when he would show up, he was not sober, and he would try to get back together or just have sex with her, but she was done with him. Laura, fully aware their marriage is beyond repair, she was dating the new fella Bryant Joe Hughes in 2001. Andre was spiraling, fueled by rejection, mental distress, drugs, and alcohol abuse. He began referring to his estranged wife, Laura, as Jezebel. And now, I don't know how up to date you are with your biblical insults, particularly in Revelations, but Jezebel was a woman accused of leading her followers into fornication. And since she refused to repent, she's threatened with sexualized punishment and the death of her children. Yeah.
Kind of a threat.
Yeah. So not only is he calling Laura Jezebel, he supposedly truly believes she was really the woman from the Bible. But also, he began calling their son Andre Jr. the Antichrist.
Oy.
Yeah. And I personally feel like part of Andre's irritation was hearing that his son Andre Jr. started calling Bryant daddy.
I think that's disgusting.
I think...
And wildly confusing for children.
Right. So I think that also led to some of his
Upset?
ill feelings towards his son.
Rightfully so.
Well, I don't think it's the little boy's fault, but...
No, I'm not saying it's the little boy's fault. I'm saying that
he has the right to be upset.
I can understand where that would be upsetting, because in the scheme of things, she hasn't been even seeing that fella for a while. He's already married, so why would you have your kid call another dude dad?
Yeah. I think also because he's married and has 2 kids, if her little boy heard the other kids calling him dad.
Okay, so I'm not even going to go there, because it shouldn't be something that's happening. Their kids should not be playing together.
Yeah. Well, Andre also believed the meaning of life was hidden within the images on the dollar bill, and he would quite often shred money, the little bit that he would get.
Well, that's why he was broke.
He also became obsessed with the Illuminati.
Oh, no.
And he began experiencing what he described as intense moments of deja vu. And he would even go as far as putting duct tape over his own mouth and refuse to speak to family for days.
I can support that.
So Bryant would bounce between staying with his wife, Laura, or at his mother's house. And after about a year of Bryant juggling his wife and Laura, Laura told him to fish or cut bait. He had to choose because this new pair, Laura and Bryant, were expecting a baby.
Oh, God.
Bryant chose Laura. Together, they welcomed a daughter, Leah Hughes, in February 2003, and Laura would be turning 20 later that year. And little Andre Jr., he's going to be a big boy, turning 4. Bryant, Andre, and Laura all got along for the sake of their children. In the words of Bryant, "We share us a baby mama. We ain't friends, but we also not enemies."
All right.
I thought that was very mature. The following spring, Andre was a few weeks shy of his 21st birthday and was still struggling with his mental health as well as drugs and alcohol. And Andre met a young lady named Carmen Hayes. During this time, the voices in Andre's head were screaming things at him. He would say that the voices would shout random things like, "You're weak. No one's going to believe you." They would also supposedly shout things like, "He's gay. Let's kill him."
Maybe he is.
A friend of his took him to a mental health clinic on March 5th, where Andre threatened to step in front of a bus if they didn't let him speak to somebody immediately. The staff was not equipped to handle an emergency situation. They told Andre's friend to take Andre to the emergency room, and they would get a judge to draft up an emergency detention order. And the staff let Andre walk out the front doors, and surprise, surprise, he didn't report to the emergency room. Instead, he began abusing Triple C.
I have no idea what that is.
Also known on the streets as Skittles.
What? Those are legal.
No, it's a drug that's called Triple C or Skittles. Any guesses?
Crack cocaine candy.
Nope. Coracetin cough and cold.
Oh, that's not illegal either.
I know. And I didn't know people would abuse Coracetin.
Why?
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you know what happens if you overdose on it?
I have no earthly idea, because I don't abuse drugs.
Well, apparently, if taken in high enough doses, it causes dissociative or out-of-body hallucinations similar to PCP or ketamine.
How much are we talking?
It's also reported to give you a euphoric feeling. And on the other side of the drug,
AM or PM?
high doses can lead to heart problems, severe confusion.
Well, that's surprising, because Coracetin is for people with high blood pressure.
Well, that's why I said high doses. But it also leads to agitation, paranoia, liver damage, seizures, coma, and also a fatal overdose.
Well, yeah, but are we talking you're down in the whole bottle?
We'll get there. On Andre's 21st birthday, he took 4 to 6 pills of Coracetin for the second time.
Oh, so pills. I was thinking he was chugging the bottle.
I didn't know it came in liquid form.
Mm-hmm. For diabetics.
I have the pills, but I didn't know that it came in.
Yeah, they're sugar-free.
The first time he took it was right before he went to that mental health place and was like, "I'm going to step in front of a bus." The second time was on his 21st birthday. He took 4 to 6 pills and drank a 6-pack and a 40-ounce malt liquor and smoked a blunt. Roughly 3 weeks after he disregarded that mental health clinic saying go over to the hospital, on March 25th, 2004, he broke up with Carmen because he believed she was a witch and that she was speaking in code. He told her that he needed to break up with her and said that if they were meant to be, she would have met him before he met Laura.
What?
He told Carmen that if their relationship was meant to be, they would have met first. So he broke up with her.
Or She needed to learn lessons before she met him.
Maybe. He also began questioning if Carmen was really a man. Mind you, they've had sex.
What?
Andre then took 8 to 10 Coricidin pills.
8 to 10?
Yep. He also drank another 6-pack, 2 little Smirnoff bottles, and smoked some weed.
He's really hitting hard stuff. Over-the-counter medication and his little girly Smirnoff drinks.
And then he ended up in the hospital because, oh yeah, he got stabbed in the chest.
Oh, what? Was it while he was trying to open one of those foil packs? Because some of those are difficult.
No, but I thought when I first read that, I was like, well, duh. If he broke up with Carmen and then asked her if she was really a man, or if you broke up and then said, if it was meant to be, I would have met you before I met the girl I met when I was 12.
No, I can't tell you if I had an ex be like, well, I really think you're a man. I wouldn't stab them. It would just be a, what?
I was like, did he deserve to be stabbed? And then when asked what happened to him at the hospital, in between vomiting, Andre told the hospital staff he stabbed himself because he was trying to cross over into heaven. The emergency room doctor deemed Andre's wounds as non-life-threatening and began making arrangements for a psychiatric hold after establishing Andre was in fact depressed. He was psychotic and had suicidal thoughts. He was suffering from hallucinations, and while they were superficial wounds, they were self-inflicted stab wounds. So Andre told the doctors, yeah, I'm not interested in staying at the hospital. He seized the opportunity when they left him unsupervised and walked right out the front doors. The hospital contacted the police and told them Andre may be a danger to not only himself but to others. The police, it seemed, didn't try to intervene at all because Andre proceeded to walk several miles back home, never once being stopped or followed up on by the police.
Yeah, but what are they supposed to do?
So I think because they were going to put him on a psychiatric hold because he did stab himself in the chest, the police can bring him back to the hospital so that they can try to get him help. Because at that point, he's not safe.
But it's a big area, I'm sure, like all the other things. There's probably wasn't somebody to go fetch him.
Maybe. The next day, Laura, Andre, and Bryant were all hanging out smoking weed, and eventually Bryant gave Andre a ride home because Bryant had to be up for work at 5 o'clock the next morning. While the men rode in Bryant's car, they listened to church on the radio. The next morning, just 2 days after walking out of the hospital, at 6:30 that Saturday morning, March 27th, Andre woke up to voices in his head telling him use 3 different knives. Andre got dressed in all black and began walking to his estranged wife Laura's third-floor apartment. Laura's boyfriend of 3 years, Bryant, had already headed off to work. He was running late and actually passed and waved at Andre as he was walking down the street. Bryant tried to call the apartment, but he knew Laura was still in bed. Instead of ignoring the gut feeling of worry, he actually called Laura's dad and told him, hey, so I just saw Andre headed towards the apartment. I tried to call Laura. She's still asleep, so can you do me a favor and just check on her and the kids at some point? I'm running late. I got to get to work. I'm sure everything's fine. And her dad was like a typical father and was like, yeah, no problem. I don't mind checking on her and the grandbabies. 20-year-old Laura was in fact at home with her and Andre's son, Andre Jr., and her and Bryant's...
But they're dead.
And her and Bryant's now 13-month-old daughter, Leia. Both children were in the second bedroom they shared, still asleep and warm in their little beds. Andre approached the door. He didn't knock. He kicked the door in. The apartment alarm was going off.
They have an alarm?
I think so. Because it said the alarm was going off, but maybe it was her.
Do you have a doorbell thing?
I don't know.
Or her alarm?
It said there was an alarm going off. In his police interview, he said he heard the alarm going off. It could have been...
in his head?
Or it could have been an alarm clock, maybe.
Or a doorbell.
Well, Laura ran from her bedroom to try to defend her family. I mean, door just got kicked in. She's running to go see what it was. While the small children continued to sleep peacefully, Andre tackled their mommy to the living room floor. The house phone began ringing during the struggle. Andre began repeatedly stabbing Laura as the concerned voice of Laura's father played on the answering machine. He was pleading with his daughter to pick up the phone to let him know she was okay. After Andre stabbed Laura and she was dying, he then cut open her chest to remove what he thought was Laura's heart, but was actually a chunk of her lung. He believed she was possessed and he needed to destroy the heart to kill the demon. Andre's savage attack was not over. He then entered the bedroom where his son was laying asleep in his bed. Andre rested his hand on his son's chest before plunging the knife into his little boy, over and over until he turned his attention to Laura's toddler. Little Leia was sleeping on her tummy. Andre flipped the little girl over and proceeded to viciously stab the 13-month-old little girl to death. Andre lifted Leia's body from her crib and placed her tiny little body on the floor. With both children dead, Andre cut open their chests and took out their hearts. He then returned to the living room with the children's hearts in his hands. Where Laura's lifeless body lay, she was still making gurgling noises as Andre proceeded to stab himself in the chest 3 times. He then laid on the floor next to Laura's remains, waiting for the darkness to take him over. He closed his eyes and waited. And waited. And realizing, I guess I'm not going to die, he got up off the living room floor, grabbed the 2 children's hearts and what he thought was Laura's heart, put them in his pockets, and walked out the door a bloody mess.
What time of day is this?
It was 6:30 in the morning. Meanwhile, when Laura didn't answer the phone, her dad hopped in the car to go check on his daughter. When he approached his daughter's front door, he saw
Blood?
It was slightly ajar. The horrified father pushed open the door to find his daughter splayed out with her chest cut open and blood all over the living room floor. The devastated father called 911 as he entered his grandchildren's bedroom to find their tiny mutilated bodies. Andre putzed along. He walked roughly a mile back to his dad's trailer, where he removed the human organs from his pockets, placed them in a Walmart bag, and tossed them in the garbage. He cleaned himself up a bit, changed out of his bloody clothes, then picked up the phone and called his in-laws. He left Laura's parents a voicemail and said,
Sherry, this is Andre. I need y'all's help. Something bad's happening to me, and it keeps happening, and I don't know what's going on. I need some help. I think I'm in hell. I need help. Somebody needs to come help me. I need help bad. I'm desperate. I'm afraid to go to sleep. So when you get this message, come by the house, please. Hello?
Then Andre strolled on over to his cousin Floyd's trailer where he and Carmen lived, and Andre told them, "Yeah, I just killed my boy." The trio smoked some weed before they drove Andre to the police department. Andre told the officers he believed God was wanting him to kill Laura and the 2 children. He told the officers he stabbed each victim with a different knife so he would not contaminate the demons that were residing in the victims. Andre further explained that there was a blood pact and that if the victim's blood was able to mix, the demons may survive. The police escorted Andre to the hospital where he required surgery on his chest, and the doctors determined that he actually managed to stab a small hole right next to his heart, so he nearly killed himself. The police arrived at Laura's apartment, and it was a horrific sight, even for the most seasoned detectives. 20-year-old Laura was lying nude with a minimum of 17 stab wounds to her chest and neck. She had a chunk of her chest cut open, and her blood was everywhere. In the children's room, blood splatter covered the walls and the once happy children's bedding. 4-year-old Andre Jr. was still lying on his back in his little toddler bed. He had on blue jogger pants and socks, and his chest was cracked wide open, and he had a huge hole gouged out of it, and the little guy's lung was just tossed aside above the little boy's pillow. Sadly, it was determined by the medical examiner that Andre Jr. was not dead when his father cracked open his chest cavity, but the little boy seemed to have died shortly before his heart was cut out or as it was being cut out. Little Leia's crib was soaked in the toddler's blood, and her body was on the bedroom floor with her chest cavity cut open. The coroner said that Leia died instantly from the first stab wound. 5 days after the murders, Andre was released from the hospital and was sitting in his jail cell awaiting all the trial stuff. And he was reading the Bible when he stumbled upon Matthew 5:29. Not to test your Bible knowledge again, but the verse Andre became fixated on was, "If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out." And Andre proceeded to dig out his right eyeball with his bare hands.
All right.
After plucking out the eye, Andre quoted Mark 9:47, "And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It is better to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into hell." I was like, all right. At this point, the doctors are finally taking Andre's lack of mental health seriously. He's diagnosed as schizophrenic. It was at this point that Andre was deemed unwell and incompetent to stand trial. After 47 days in the hospital, a psychiatrist wrote to the court and said Andre was in fact competent to stand trial, and that Andre had actually had a drug-induced psychosis, and he also exaggerated his mental illness by engaging in self-harm. On February 15th, 2005, Andre was charged with only 1 murder, and that was of the 13-month-old little girl of Laura and Bryant.
Why was he only charged with 1?
I don't know, actually. I have no earthly idea. Maybe it was one of those things where they were going to go, if something went wrong with the first trial, they'd go use each death. I don't know. But they only charged him with the one. And I won't get into the specifics of the forensics, but Laura was a white girl and Andre was black. The jury was composed of an all-white jury. 3 of the selected jurors and 1 alternate juror indicated on the jury selection questionnaires they were opposed to interracial couples marrying and procreating, with 1 juror indicating vigorous opposition, noting, quote, "I don't believe God intended for this. We should stay within our bloodline."
So you should marry your siblings?
Another racist juror stated children from an interracial couple would not have a specific race to belong to. And kind of like you just said, the people who talk like that are the ones who I say have sister mothers and brother cousins, because that is just...
They got pure blood.
Right. Now, during his trial, his drug use and mental stability were the central issue throughout the proceedings. It became like a which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of debate. One side was arguing he was struggling with hearing voices since 10, and the other side was saying that it was all lies and he was mentally unstable from drug and alcohol abuse. Andre's defense team was putting forward the insanity defense, and the state of Texas says Andre's mental illness was caused or made more severe from the drug use, which in Texas, that invalidates the insanity defense. If the mental condition was the result of voluntary intoxication, you can't claim you're insane. Then the defense was like, dude popped out his own eye. That shows he's nuts.
Yeah.
And the prosecutor rebutted with, the eye incident was indicative of an impulsive act rather than insanity.
No. I've never impulsively plucked out my own eye.
No.
Or anyone else's, just to be clear.
Well, after all of the back and forth that comes with a murder trial, Andre Thomas was found guilty of capital murder, and in November 2005, he was sentenced to death. Once sitting in his cell on death row, Andre continued to hear voices. He said he also could hear music from the band Queen.
Did he like Queen?
I don't know. Apparently not, because it was driving him nuts. He also complained he saw... Okay. He also complained he saw 6-inch tall demons coming out of the prison walls.
Was it why he was in the shower?
My brain did giggle, and I made a lot of mental penis jokes. 6-inch demons coming out of the walls. Yeah. Were they walls or were they the bars across from him? But in July of 2008, Andre attempted suicide by slicing a sharp object across his neck. He required 8 stitches. A few months later, a judge denied Andre's appeal, stating under Texas law, Andre is not considered insane because he was high on drugs. 2 months later, on December 9th, 2008, Andre plucked out his remaining eyeball and ate it.
All right. He was tired of seeing all those dicks.
He consumed his eyeball to prevent the United States federal government from reading his thoughts.
Cool.
He was treated in the hospital, then sent to the Texas Jester Unit for prisoners who are mentally ill, which I also laughed at the name. Who names mental hospital for the prisoners the Jester Unit? All right. As of April 5th, 2023, Texas withdrew the execution date that was scheduled for Andre to allow for mental competency consideration. And things are still on hold because if I search him now, you just find the April 5th, that whole thing. And with Andre's attorney saying, guiding this blind psychotic man to a gurney for execution offends our sense of humanity and serves no legitimate purpose.
I'll do it.
And the prosecutors are still fighting to put Andre to death, saying faith leaders and others calling for clemency for him are not fully informed of the case and have not read any reports or evaluations of his mental state. It made me think of your one case where the guy turned the gun on himself after killing his ex. And it does become a question of, does he deserve the death penalty? Because it sounds like the state of Texas feels like the family history or mental illness was exacerbated by his choice to drink and do drugs. Therefore, he's responsible for his vile actions.
That's because it's a new Texas. Because that old Texas would just plug him in.
Right. Well, Texas wants to put him to death. They're saying he did it to himself. And then something different from your case. I don't know if you remember that case. I know you got a foggy brain hole, but your guy didn't know he was headed to be executed because he gave his ice cream or something, asked him to save it
to the ward or the guard.
Yeah,
like, he'll have that when he comes back.
The difference is Andre's aware of his prior execution date, April 5th, 2023, and he knew he was being put to death for murdering his estranged wife and her children. So I can kind of argue it both ways. Was he self-medicating with drugs due to a lack of proper medications, or was he psychotic and violent because of the substance abuse? But Andre Lee Thomas is currently 42 years old and waiting to hear what his fate will be. Also, a close call. The night before Andre murdered Laura and the 2 kids, Bryant's niece and his 2 children that he had with his ex-wife were supposed to have spent the night at Laura's and Bryant's apartment. So this tragedy nearly included 3 more children. I also saw that Paul Boren, Laura's dad, and Bryant Hughes, Laura's boyfriend, tried to sue the hospital for the wrongful deaths of Laura, Andre Jr., and Leah. They cited the hospital showed gross negligence by how they handled Andre the day before the murders. Unfortunately, the law disagreed with the grieving men. Their claims were dismissed at trial, and the general gist was the hospital's liable for Andre's care and not for Andre's actions after he left the hospital. The well-being of Laura and her children was not their responsibility. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think somebody who doesn't like the kid cases sure did pick one that's a fucked up kid case.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a picture real quick of Andre. The first picture is when he was first arrested. The second picture is after he popped out his right eyeball. And then the last picture is after he popped out both his eyeballs. And then there's a picture of Laura, Andre Jr., and Leah's headstone. And then Laura, and then the kids. I couldn't remember that case, that the one that you did where it was like the religion with your ex.
It was Annalisa.
Yeah. But I couldn't, this case gave me vibes of that one since everybody seemed to be hearing voices and it was all religion.
It's interesting that it was the same family.
Yeah. I can't believe he ate his eyeball though. When I read that he ate his eyeball, I was like, oh.
I don't know. Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.